currently surrogacy isn't huge in the UK, but there is a massive push to make it like the one that you've got in certain states.
Yeah, and I mean that's the rub that we have. A lot of people in Europe, because a lot of European countries don't allow surrogacy. I was just in Rome a few weeks ago, and I'm going back to Rome in a few more weeks to speak at a conference both on surrogacy, because the Italian government is getting ready to close their travel ban. So you can't do surrogacy in Italy, but they're going to close the ban so you cannot travel and rent a womb. So I'm thrilled with that. But a lot of European countries that are being pressured to liberalize surrogacy laws, point to America as well. It's working just great in America, which is obviously people haven't done any bit of research. Just go on Instagram and you can see how badly surrogacy is working here. I mean, I posted a post just yesterday, and it's a woman who's in California. She's in her 24th week of a pregnancy for a single man in China. And she's distressed because she's never seen this man. She's never met this man. This man is not even going to be in America, in California, when the baby's born. He's hiring somebody who will come to California, pick up the baby, and bring the baby to China. And she's like, I don't feel comfortable about this. What do I do? And it's like, and there was a great study that just came out, Infertility and Sterility. Well, it's not really a study, it's a report of data. And it's looking at international travel to the United States, because so many countries ban this. They come here, right? This article reported that almost 43% of international surrogacy people coming are single men over 40 years of age, predominantly from China. And to me, that's like 3 red flags. Why would a single man who's in his 40s come from a different country to buy babies? I mean, it's just like red flag, red flag, red flag. But, surrogacy, our own data, our own research shows that surrogate pregnancy is very, very high risk, much higher risk than a natural pregnancy. And nobody even thinks that that's the case, because they think one pregnancy is the same as another pregnancy, and that's not true. It's not true. So it's risky to mother, it's risky to baby, it's exploitative. I mean, I always say there's a million reasons to tell people why they should oppose surrogacy.
I think it's the reasons for the surrogacy presenting problems is probably, again, multifold, because there will be factors affecting factors, and a little bit like a butterfly effect going on in multiple places. But one of the things that we know is, even if you've got a normal pregnancy, the mother's body has to suppress its immune system, because at the end of the day, that baby is still 50% not hers. So this is in normal circumstances. And then what then happens to that mother's immune system when she's got an egg that isn't hers and perhaps is carrying 2 babies by 2 different fathers? You've got so many more complications there. And then I know that you've spoken a lot about the contracts of surrogacy, and part of the meddling of the DNA and things like that is to essentially lock the women that give birth into being, or having to be forced to follow the instructions from the intended parents.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's a claim that's made, is that how surrogacy operates in the United States protects everybody, because we have these laws and these contracts, so everybody's protected, all the stakeholders are protected. And if you read any of the laws or you read any of the contracts, which I read all the time, it's just not true. The laws and the contracts protect the moneyed interest. They protect the buyer. And if you read any surrogate contract, if she doesn't obey, if she doesn't comply, if she doesn't follow instructions, she will be in breach of contract and she will be penalized. She'll either be, sued or have to pay the money back, or there's some kind of penalties, are always attached for non-compliance. And so, I'm always thrilled that so far, France still does not allow surrogacy. Germany doesn't allow it. Spain doesn't allow it. Italy doesn't allow it. But I keep saying, we need, in the U.S., we need to close our borders, because if we closed our borders, that would just shrink a lot of the problems. It wouldn't solve the problems, but it would at least make our problems with fighting surrogacy and egg trafficking just within our 50 states. And America's huge, so the few people like me that are working to abolish surrogacy and shut down the egg trade, we have our hands full. But if we only had to manage America, yeah, that would make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Well, I do find it surprising how we don't see the risks. Are we really that blinded by the compassion? Because, there used to be the saying that, if it quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. I mean, we are exchanging money, and whether you want to call it expenses or payment or fees or, compensation or whatever you want to name it, there is an exchange of huge amount of money, and the product, the deliverable, is the baby. That's selling
Yeah,
babies. Like, we already have words for it. I think the surrogacy, almost like we are trying to meddle with what it actually is.
yeah. And when you look at like organ donation, I think almost the whole entire world does not allow for the buying and selling of organs. And we don't have compassion for the fact that about every 13 minutes in the United States, somebody dies waiting for an organ. These are real life people who are sick and could be perhaps saved and cured and treated if we could start buying and selling kidneys. Do we not have compassion for those people? I mean, I think we do. But when it comes to babies and somebody who can, and you're not going to die if you can't have a baby. I'm very sympathetic to people who want children. I'm very sympathetic to people who can't have children. I'm very sympathetic to all that. But on the other hand, you're not going to die if you can't have a child. You might have a broken heart. But why do we allow somebody to not be able to buy an organ in order to save their life? But we'll allow somebody to harm another woman in order to have a baby. Doesn't make sense.
Something came up to me when you were talking about comparing sort of surrogacy to donating an organ. The stakes are so much higher. Ask any parent whether they would give up their life for their child, and they will say absolutely, without any even considering for it. How many people would give up their life for a kidney or one of their kidneys? Not many.